Hello there. I'm going to begin by describing an EMDR light kit, which I purchased and shipped for, I think, a little under $500. So this is the light bar, and it comes with a controller. And if I press the button, the light moves back and forth. And this comes with a tripod, which normally gets mounted at about eye level. It also comes with some standard headphones, meaning any headphones will do the job. And it comes with two buzzers, which I've written right and left on. And so you put the right buzzer in your right hand, the left buzzer in your left hand. And when the light goes to the right buzzer goes buzz, a little vibrate. When the light goes to the left buzzer goes buzz. And there is a buzz in my ear in the headphone. And so what's happening is that I'm seeing eye stimulation on the right side, listening to a tone in my right ear, feeling a buzz in my right hand. Then it's going to the other side. Now, some of these kits do not include headphones. EMDR started with just a light. Some EMDR therapists do not use technology at all. They simply move their finger in front of a person for a period of time and then stop and check in. And so that was kind of the origin. And this is as good a time as any to just talk briefly about what might be going on. And what I mean by that is this is among the single most important technologies available for healing trauma and PTSD, for releasing emotional charge in memory. And what's going on with moving your attention from the left side of your body to the right, from the right side of your body to the left. So the first thing to understand is there are a number of different theories. The theory is ultimately not as important as this fact. There are no side effects, and it works. Meaning there are people who have done years of therapy, who have taken various medications, and have not gotten better, who can do an hour of this kind of tracking from the left to the right side of their body and see substantially better results. And so whether it takes an hour or 10 hours, there's no side effects, and it's one of the most potent and effective technologies available. Now, in terms of some of the theory that I subscribe to, it's twofold. The first is that when you dissociate, when you're overstimulated, there are circuit breakers in the psyche that flip. And the problem is they don't flip back automatically. Just like a circuit breaker, when the surge of electricity goes through the body at a certain intensity, It flips, and it requires an active intervention to come in and turn it and reconnect it. And the trouble is it stays in its state. If you imagine a clock, for example, turning, and then you take its power away because it blows a circuit, it stays frozen in time. If you imagine an electric car, again, and it's moving forward, and you flip a circuit, you flip a breaker, it stays frozen in time. Now, what's the problem? Time does not move forward, and 10 years can go by, and your electric car is still not any closer to its destination. And so the circuit breaker has to be reconnected. Now, one of the things that this is called is bilateral stimulation. And what that's doing is it's connecting the left part of your body with the right part of your body. You're staying with a memory, but you're going back and forth. So one way to look at this would be that you're clearing roadblocks or, snow away from the road that's going from the left side to the right side. You're reconnecting the left and right hemisphere around this issue. So that would be one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is that the most important and original source of EMDR was focusing the eyes. Now, this is my theory, but if you watch people dreaming, their eyes are linked to their eyes are linked to their dreams. The eyes move rapidly during sleep and dreaming. And there is a pattern of eye movement that happens in panic from left to right. And it's my belief that when trauma gets locked into the body, it is a memory, an image, and it has an eye movement associated with it. A variety of eye movements occurred at that time. And that when there is an overload, when that breaker flows, when you remember that memory, your eyes go back into that same state. The charge didn't get released. Now, this is just my theory, and it's as good as any. But if you remember the same memory and you do a systematic pattern and your eyes now follow a new course, now you have a physiological new memory of associating a different eye movement during a time when you were calm. And it interrupts the rapid eye memory that was associated with that image. And in doing so, brings us back to the present moment. And so, you can also think of it as, as helping to reestablish that link with the circuit breaker. The clock stopped when the breaker blew. It's now been 10, 20 years. You now connect it. The clock starts ticking. Now, it may be out of, it's not in the right position. So then there's a process of updating it and saying, okay, now that we're connected, we can see, okay, this isn't the correct time. This is the correct time, right? So that may or may not make sense to you. It doesn't matter if it works, is the main thing. Now, as I mentioned, I've spent $1,500 or $500 on this device, and one of the problems with this device is it's difficult to travel with. I'm doing a lot of traveling at the moment, and another thing that I think could be an issue is, that this is rather a big light versus a small and focused light. If you're wanting to have a very clear focus, obviously if this was the entire light bar lit up, it would be pointless. If you have half of it lit up, your eyes are not moving as much. You want your eye to go all the way to the one side and the other without moving your head. And so, one is the cost. The other is, this is very difficult to travel with. I have to use it diagonally in a big suitcase out of its case because the case won't fit in any suitcase. And my impression also is that it would have be nicer if it was a little bit longer in terms of to really stretch the eye from one side to the other. And so what I'm going to describe now is my current iteration, as part of being supportive and helpful for those of you in trauma and with PTSD. And it came to me actually through my assistant when I was describing the research I was doing to have a light bar that was easier to travel manufactured. That could be 10 times cheaper was the goal. So 10 times cheaper, $50 rather than $500, and a folding light bar, which would easily fit into a carry-on. And so that was going along, and that's still, I think, a terrific improvement over this current, model here. However, my assistant pointed out that one could use a TV because a laptop doesn't really do it that much, and a cell phone certainly doesn't in terms of the eye movement. What about using the TV behind me to do what this bar does? Now, you'll notice the TV is bigger than this light bar by about 30%, and that's good. It stretches the brain. You'll also probably be aware that a TV of this size, 40 inches or bigger rather than maybe 35 inches, something like that for this, is available in any hotel, and and even bigger ones can be available in many homes. So that got me thinking, could we make it even cheaper or free? And that's what this video is about. So the thing to notice about this controller is I mainly use the timer, and I'll use it for usually 15 seconds to 30 seconds is my typical sequence. I'll just press this one button of all these many buttons, and then it has a little timer, and I'll glance down and I'll turn it off again. Now, one thing I don't like is as soon as I press this button, this moves, and so it doesn't give me. I'm focused on pressing the button and then becoming aware of my memory, and it doesn't give me a chance, like a countdown to get settled. So that's one thing that I've improved with this video is a countdown. And so what I'm going to just describe is how we've taken this $500 light kit and turned it into something that can be free and easy. So there's a couple aspects of this. The first is taking, this elaborate timer, which allows you to do 15 minutes or 15 seconds or 30 seconds or 45 seconds. And it allows you to do it at different speeds. And what I've found is that there's basically two speeds that seem to make a difference for me, meaning I could put any speed I want, but you're not trying to get dizzy. And if it's too slow, you drift off, right? So a speed that you can stay present with, which is something like this, is important. And so I've pre-programmed that speed into a video that you're going to be watching that allows the light to move on the black TV, which in some ways is beneficial, meaning you've got a wider frame of view if you sit close to it, which I recommend. The second thing is we've put into tracks, so you don't have to press a button. You can just forward into tracks, and you can repeat. And the third thing is a prompt to remind you to do your note taking. And so what I'm aiming for, is for you to get all of the benefit of a $500 light kit with none of the cost. Now, I have worked with two different therapists, and I think it's fantastic to work with a good EMDR therapist if A, you can find one, and B, you can afford one. Fantastic. It's a wonderful thing to be kind of a participant with someone else, a witness. In my case, I had different things that didn't work for me with both therapists. And so what I did is I recognized the potential of the technology, but I also recognized that the therapist was a negative for me, net negative, over just working with it alone. In one case, they were interrupting and barging in and weren't respecting the space. In another case, right after I got excited about doing it and stuff, then they went off on vacation and left it for me to follow up with them, and it just didn't feel right. And so, so the gift was seeing that the technology worked. But then it's helpful to talk things through. And the good news is that many AI, such as ChatGPT, which is what I've used with this, is very familiar with EMDR therapy. And so I can talk an issue through with GPT and say, look, the goal is a good EMDR therapy session. Here's what I'm working with. Here's what I'm feeling. And GPT will suggest maybe an image or say, okay, do this and this and this. And then I'll say, I tried that. It didn't really work that well. Now this is coming up. And so we'll work with it, much like a therapist, until there's a good session, meaning, I felt something there, that's released. I'm back in the present moment. Now that is the goal, to be fully back in the present moment, to be relating to the memory from the present rather than the past. Because in the present moment, the abuser is not here. That event is not happening. And particularly in childhood events, we're no longer 2 years old. We're no longer 5 years old. We're here in the present moment. So that's the goal. Because the adult in the present moment, if you can access the conscious present witness, can have love, can have compassion for the past, and is not traumatized by the memory. Right? And so the goal of EMDR is to interrupt the patterned physiology around the memory that brings us back to feeling as if we're 5 years old, 10 years old, or even an hour ago. It's like, wow, I'm no longer afraid I'm going to die and this and that. Yeah, I'm here in the present moment. So good luck, and I'd love to hear in the comments what works, what doesn't work, things you have tried that work better, because the goal is to make important technology available to everyone who has trauma and PTSD as easily and as cost effectively as possible.